Hello, this is L1 making a new video review. The Revoltech 67 and 68 Evangelion Test Type Unit 1 and the Evangelion Production Model Unit 02 from Evangelion 2.0 from Revoltech on the Yamaguchi line. These figures were released on 2009, back when the second rebuild of Evangelion movie was released, Evangelion 2.0 You Cannot Advance. And these were the first one to include the mold. Some people call it 2.0 mold. It's called like that because, well, obviously they were released with the 2.0 movie, and because only EVAs from the 2.0 movie were made with it. It consists on 7 figures. I'm going to be reviewing them in pairs to move faster because I still have the rest of the collection. So we start as usual with the package. These figures introduce the wide window package that allowed you to see the figure and all the extras placed over the blister. As usual, on the left side you could see the figure and the name along with the number, and on the back you could see many poses that it could take. These figures greatly improved the articulation that was already common on EVAs. However, they were quickly outpaced by the release of the Bandai line, the Robot Damashi. I made a comparison of Unit 2 and this Unit 2 and the Robot Damashi figure. Although Robot Damashi corrected a lot of errors on this one, these EVAs remain, in my opinion, the one closest to the new skull, to the new body type that they have on the rebuild movies. The Evangelion Evolution line made the shoulders wider again and the pantaloons shorter and, let's call them, thicker. It did brought some improvements, and well, I still like this mold a lot. I think it's the one that captures the essence of the rebuild EVAs more accurately. So these EVAs still had the robot chip. That is this little, let's call it coin, that you could use in Japan, of course, for purchasing Revoltech goods. You could get the robot players, the little yellow-orange boxes, robot containers, to put the stuff in, and if you could get 100 points, you would receive a random figure and another set of extras. There were a lot of stuff that you could get with those, but since there were no programs for the foreign collectors, then I'm pretty much stuck with about 60 of those points that I have no idea what to do with. Well, anyway, let's start. So here we have Unit 1 and Unit 2 along with all their extras. Unit 2 is very well known from this mold for the large amount of extras that were made for it. They were so many that, in fact, they were scattered around 3 figures. EVA Unit 2 came with the aerial equipment. Some extras were included with EVA Unit 1 and others with EVA Unit 0. When they re-released these 2 figures along with EVA Unit 0 and Unit 3, practically half of the box was holding all the extras for Unit 2. So, well, I'm going to be checking them in detail later. Well, both of the figures came with this base, the standard Revoltech base that for the first time included with EVAs this V-shaped extension along with another joint to help pose the EVAs. I'm using the transparent ones just for aesthetic purposes. the EVAs themselves lack a hole to put the joint for the vase. The only one they have for that is that one on which you normally plug the umbilical cable. So you cannot use this vase and the cable at the same time, which sometimes can be seen as a disadvantage. I consider that too. The Evangelion Evolution mold corrected this by putting another hole in the vase of the EVA, so that you could use the vase and the cable at the same time. So I'm going to be reviewing articulation first, as usual. I'm going to unplug the EVA. So we have here an articulation at the top and at the bottom of the neck. For the first time, the EVAs can open their mouths without an articulation. Here you see the motion. It doesn't look that well. Many people said that it was better when they included a normal head, and a head with the open mouth. I don't really see much of an issue there. It's a nice gimmick, actually. The pylons are not held with pegs on top of the shoulders of the EVA. In fact, they rotate independently with a little peg on the back that allows it to move by itself, so that you can move the arm of the EVA without the pylon actually moving. This was meant to correct the, let's call them, complaint that on the previous EVA figures, if you move the arm of the EVA like this, the pylon would go like this too. Trying to correct that, they actually created another problem, because it's hard to pose the arms of these EVAs without having this thing on the way. Although it was meant to be a solution, it turned out to be much more of another issue. They are held with these tiny pegs in here. You can barely see them, probably. Oh, you can see them. Like this, here, and with a little hole on the base of the pylon. I'm not going to lie. These things, I've always lived with the fear that, goddammit, that they will break one day and render the pylon of the EVA useless. And in fact, Unit 2 is known to have a lot of quality control issues. Mine's pylon, well, the pylons swing with a peg that is half rotating, but that is covered by this, by the plate that has this black square here. This one, if you unglue it, you can separate and see the swinging part that allows the motion of the pylon. Mine in Unit 2 out of the box fell. I had to glue it, and I've had to glue it like 2 or 3 times since. I read another review, and someone's leg on Unit 2 fell just by taking it out of the package. So be mindful of that. Unit 2 has some quality control issues. Well, returning to articulation, there is one articulation in the shoulder, one on the elbow, and there is per se no articulation on the wrist. They included a lot of hands on different positions to compensate for this. Hands are held in place by a little peg, like this one, that you just push inside, like this. In my opinion, and one of the reasons I like this mold so much, is because the hands don't look out of proportion on the EVAs. The previous ones tend to look quite big. The TV version EVAs look like if they have hands stung by bees or something. I really like these hands really keep the line of the body of the EVA without looking odd or small or disproportionate. Well, there is one articulation on the chest that goes all the way down to the hip. This green plate here actually moves independently. It's only held in place because the joint goes through it. So whilst it allows the EVA to move like this, you always see that the little joint in here. So the normal kicking motion that could only go forward on these figures, it doesn't go back. That is all it can go. There is a twist motion here. Another articulation on the knee. They recycled the idea of the 1.0 mold, where there is a double joint in here. It looks great because the normal joints tend to bulge this way out, creating a black mass here that doesn't look as well. But if you don't pose them properly, you are gonna end up with an awkward position for the leg, like this one. So you have to be careful on that, or like this. It's basically the same, but you see my point. The knee looks as if it is quite longer than it actually is. There is one articulation at the foot, and for the first time there's a toe articulation here. It's very loose and it actually doesn't do much. If you're not careful, you can end up moving so much that you lose the toes of the EVA. So you have to be careful with that. Now all of the 2.0 mold EVAs have the same articulations, except for the Beast Type Unit 2 and Evangelion Unit 5 that I'm going to be reviewing later. So let's move on with the extras. The EVAs on the 2.0 mold come with a lot of extras each. Especially Unit 2, as I've said before. Unit 1 comes with a couple of swords, like these ones, that, well, they don't really appear in the movie or any other canon material, but they look really cool actually. They have a lot of nice details on the edge and on the silver paint of the metal. They are basically that, just to make the EVA look cool. We have the always present pallet rifle. This time it is colored light brown or copper-like color, and the rebuild of Evangelion progressive knife, like this. Now Unit 2 comes on package comes with this, the electromagnetic crossbow used when it is first launched on Evangelion 2.0. It's very nicely detailed. You can see a lot of lines and reliefs there, and there is actually one hand for the EVA that is used for this only. I'm going to show it later. Also in the package comes the axe. Again, an extra that doesn't really appear on the movies, but that they had the mold and they had to fill the box, so they used it. It also comes with another pallet rifle. Basically all of the EVAs on this mold come with one of these. So the dual progressive knife of EVA Unit 2, these ones, do not come with the EVA. These actually come with EVA Unit 1, and the package specifies that they are meant for that EVA. Not only the knives, but an special pylon that is meant to simulate the opening, the special opening that it has to reveal them, on which the pylon splits in two and flips over. You can put the progressive knife in here like this. There's a little peg on the knife and on this side of the pylon like this. It really doesn't have a lot of motion here because otherwise the peg will just loose and fall. But it really is an interesting extra for Unit 2. This is the second time that we have a progressive knife opening pylon. The first one was for the End of Evangelion scope of Unit 2. It didn't quite open and didn't have any motion, but anyway, it's nice to see that they reused this idea. To place a new pylon on, you just have to take the EVA and pull the pylon out. It's just a peg, it shouldn't pose much problem. And then take the new one and slide it in, like this. And here you have Unit 2 with the open progressive knife hatch. Like I said, the knives and the pylon themselves come with EVA Unit 1. But one of the main and more interesting features of this EVA is the aerial equipment. I think one of the reasons that it is so alluring is because it is the first time that we see any other of the EVAs, let's call it fly. Thought it was actually gliding down. Oh my freaking god. This is what I was talking to you about. The little swinging peg once again has fallen out of my EVA, so I think it is time for a quick surgery. So after this very embarrassing business, I'm going to have to end the review with the good side of the EVA towards the camera. So, as I was saying, all you have to do is put the little peg inside of this. And of course you have to be very careful when you put it out, because otherwise you end up with a broken pylon holder. This is like the 4th or 5th time that I had to reglue that piece on my EVA, so just keep that a lot in mind. EVA Unit 2 has a lot of quality control issues. And well, since I cannot manipulate the figure for the next 48 hours because of the glue, I'm going to use this to show you how to use the last part of the aerial equipment, which is basically another forearm that has a longer pylon for basically assisting the wings. So you only take out this part, slide the new one in like you normally just take out the forearm and slide the other one in, and you just have to place the new hand in here. I never really use this one, so the holes are pretty tight. And with that, you just slide the arm back again, and you slide the pylon so it looks like this. The aerial equipment is actually another issue on this EVA. It is so wide, and the front has this strange shape that the arms are severely limited in motion. And well, in fact, the aerial equipment on this figure is kind of a mess. It's really hard to pose the EVA with it, let alone repeating any action poses, because well, most of the time the wings are on the way or the front of it is on the way. The Evangelion Evolution line corrected that a lot by placing the main problem here was the way the pylons were held in place. Although it allowed to keep them aesthetically pleasing, so to speak, it hindered a lot the articulation on the arms. Now, when it comes to hands, this is where I really like these EVAs, because they included normally 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 hands each. And they came with a lot of hands that many had not seen before on that had not been seen before on the previous Revoltechs, that only came with a normal hand and one for the gun, and maybe I think one for the knife, or no, open palms. They only came with like 6 or 8 hands. And jumping from that to having 13 hands to pick from, that is a great step forward on these EVAs. So I'm going to check the hands now. So here we have the hands of the EVAs. We have, as usual, the closed fist hand. This one that doesn't have an actual function on EVA Unit 1, but that in Unit 2 is used to hold a crossbow. This one is a relaxed palm, the rest are on the EVAs. We have the rifle holding hands, open palms, but the way the tiny peg is placed helps to make it look as if they are catching something from above. This one is just like to stop something, and these are for catching. So they are different, they really look different. And these one are the unpaired hands that many people wonder what the hell they're for. We have this one that looks as if it were for playing bowling because of the position of the fingers, and there is the karate chop hand that some people use for running on the Evangelion evolutions, but that since they lack a pair here, they are karate chop hands. It's a right hand that doesn't have a pair, along with the left one that doesn't have a pair of the bowling hand. Now, the final feature on these figures is, of course, the rubber container included for the first time with these EVAs. It's basically a box for you to keep all the tiny hands and small pieces out of the box. They normally come in a little bag that you open and then lock, so this one is a nice addition because now you keep all the hands in one place. And the best part is that both of the figures come with a space on the blister to put the little box in, so that you don't lose the box with all the hands at the same time. For Unit 2, since so many tiny features are scattered across other figures, I normally keep the progressive knife pylon and the progressive knives with inside the box along with all of the hands, since the other pylon that comes with EVA Unit 0 doesn't fit here, then I just keep it with that unit. Oh, talking of that, I forgot about it. There is another pylon for Unit 2 besides the opening progressive knife hatch and the aerial equipment one. Besides the normal one we see here, there is one that has let's call it a spike needle launcher thing, the needle launcher thing that is used very briefly seen on the movie. In theory, this red piece opens by elevating itself and throws sharp spikes at the 10th angel when Mary had hijacked EVA Unit 2. It really doesn't serve much purpose on this EVA. I really don't know why they made it in the first place. But anyway, that's how mechanotechnics work. In any case, the best thing I can think of was to make EVA Unit 0 cell, because, to be quite honest, besides of the need to have the EVA Unit 0 to complete the EVA Unit 0, 1 and 2 set, there is really nothing on it that it's worth mentioning. I'm going to be reviewing it later along with Unit 3. So, for the final verdict, we have deficient sculpt when it comes to the pylons and terrible quality control on EVA Unit 2. Once you take those things aside, and once you forget that there are new figures now, since I'm reviewing this in retrospective, I cannot help but compare them with the figures that have been released since. But when these EVAs came out, they were the best EVA figures that there were, of course, until the robot damage a few months later. but the sculpt was very good. I still think it's one of the best ones that Revoltech has produced so far for the rebuild of Evangelion line. And the many new features, including the way the hands were placed and the toe articulation and the fact that the Evas can now open their mouths, it really made them sell. Some of them are really hard to come by. Especially Unit 2 is rather hard to come by despite all its issues. There are very few paint errors along this line. In fact, I have the only error in all the Evas of the 2.0 mold that I have is a little smudge on the white plate of Eva Unit 2, but then again that can be attributed to the bad quality control that figure had. So, well, it's your decision. For collecting purposes, then you should really go with Eva Unit 1, Unit 2 not so much, especially because you will find difficult to have all the extras that it really has without buying Eva Unit 1 or Eva Unit 0. And if you want to have the basic set of Eva 0, 1 and 2, then you are going to have to open your wallet for a big cash for Unit 0. It is not as expensive as a Robot Damacy, but then again, if you want to drop cash for some really good figures, then you should really go for the Robot Damacy line. It has the same Evas and even some extras that are not present on this line. So that is my honest opinion. This was Sole 1 making a video review. The Revoltechs 68 and 67, the Evangelions Unit 01 and 02 from Rebuild Evangelion 2.0 you cannot advance from Kaiyodo's Revoltech on the Yamaguchi line. Thanks for watching. Visit my blog evaposers.blogspot.com and my Tumblr now, evaposers. You can search it as Sole1, I think. You can see the link at the bottom of the video. So, thanks for watching.